JEA board set to meet this morning amid a contentious time for the publicly owned utility. One member says he will start that meeting asking for CEO Aaron Zahn to be fired. JEA has been considering a sale to a private owner for months now, but city council members are calling for a grand jury investigation. They want to look into potential ethics violations and possible conflicts of interest that include Zahn's ties to a lobbyist. Joining me now is the man leading that charge, Councilman Matt Carlucci, who is a council member, also calling for Zahn's resignation. Matt, thank you for being here. Aaron Zahn, Henry Brown asked that he not be at the meeting today. Number one, do you think he will show up? Zahn said he will follow the board's recommendation. Is it decision time?
Well, if he was asked not to be at the meeting, then he very well may not be at the meeting. That way the board can talk very frankly without his presence there. So I think it's time for his resignation. I think it was time a while back, even before I called for his resignation. And there's just been so much troublesome behavior surrounding the whole JEA sales process. The JEA right now, I've never seen it in such disarray. I've seen it before where the rates were high and people were upset about the rates. But here it's a lack of trust. It's a lack of trust that's pervading the whole community. It has split the community. And Jacksonville moves best when we move together, and we're not moving because we're not together. There's too many troublesome spots with trust. And public trust, when you lose the public trust, you've lost it.
Now, there's a lot of contention about that performance plan, which Aaron Zahn is the one who put it on the table. He yesterday spoke publicly about it for the first time. He took ownership of it. He says, okay, it was a bad idea. That said, you're calling for that grand jury investigation, but you're calling for it because you want to take the politics out of this whole process.
Yeah, a grand jury investigation is made up of citizens. They're a third party, they're independent, and I think we need to get it out of the political realm. We need to look at the unit's performance, which I think actually Council Members Salem and Diamond did a excellent job on that yesterday. Really did an excellent job. But there's potential conflicts and ethics violations by Mr. Zahn with some property he owned with a lobbyist who has a contract with the city. There's potential conflicts of interest in awarding city contracts. And you know what, the JEA board, they put the city's largest asset up for sale without even any notice to the city council, the council auditor, or the public. And so there's a lot out there, and what generally happens in my experience of seeing grand jury investigations is by the time they're through, they have found more than what we ever thought was out there. Now, one thing about a grand jury investigation, if it's state, yes, they can indict people, but if they don't indict people, they can point to things that the public officials need to know in order to restore public trust. They can point to inefficiencies. They can point to probable causes. So it's not just like we're looking to indict somebody. We're looking at the whole practices of the city and why we are in this mess today.
So are you basically saying that the inefficiencies go beyond just the JEA issue, that the inefficiencies are systemic when it comes to city government in general?
I am just going to tell you that there are troublesome practices that I think the city needs some review on. And again, I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect, but I just think we have breached the threshold where this city needs a good look from a third party, and grand jury is an independent third party of people. And you know, somebody told me the other day, says, isn't the JEA owned by the public? When's the public going to have a say? And so I think it's time for the public to have their say, and the best way to do that with all of the different areas that are trouble spots and red flags is through a grand jury investigation.
All right, we'll find out what happens with that meeting today. Jim Pickett's going to be there, so we'll have more on that story here on air and on news4jax.com. Councilman, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
It's great to see you.